Yeah, not bad. I think everyone's off just working on their own projects right now. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's yeah, opening was good. Everything's running pretty smooth. So very happy about that.
Yeah.
Alright,
So
sorry about that. I was just wrapping up some. I was just working out some like tech things on my laptop.
Oh,
Sorry about
okay,
that,
Ben, you
Kagan.
got it. Nice.
Yeah, everything's good. If
All
you
right. Um, I think I'm good to go, right?
What did you win? What did you win?
uh here we go. All right. Hey, you know what? For 9 p.m., I don't feel that bad. It's oh, hang on. I gotta get the link as well. Let me make the announcement.
Hi,
Hey, Don, how you doing?
I'm not in sunny California.
It's I'm totally not in Schaumburg Apartments.
Uh, come here.
But yeah. I just made the announcement. People should be joining in soon.
hmm
Hi.
Hey, Cam.
Who else is here?
Brian and Benjamin.
Ah,
Hello.
and this is basically your
We're live on YouTube.
oh, okay, no, then let me step out.
No.
It's also Nan. I forgot to say it earlier. I was meant to send an email earlier, but I got sidetracked. Congrats again on receiving the presidency for GSO.
Thanks.
This is your last year, right? For as a PhD student, or like
No, no. So in the PhD, we never know.
uh
every semester is our last after a point. Yes.
Yeah.
okay, I see. Like
But I'm counting like a year or a year and a half more.
okay. Then like my plan right now is personally my plan is gap year and then start PhD program. So like I'm hoping
Where?
so, like I know my old my old mentor Varun from Mike's lab,
Mhm.
Oh
Mike
yeah,
Fredman's lab. Like
great guy.
he just graduated
Mhm.
like he deserved it. Like I remember he was here for 7 or 8 years. I'm thinking okay,
That's right.
like I can't imagine how painstaking that was.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And in systems labs, generally 7 years seems to be the norm, which is really tough.
Really?
Mm.
Okay. Like I remember I like on the other side. I remember I actually saw Yongming's like thesis proposal,
Yeah.
and like I was thinking like I remember seeing his CV, and I was like, and it was like, wait a minute, like he has all yeah, like he has but he had like what's it like set like 5 or 6 papers already on his topic, and I'm like, why didn't he graduate yet? Like,
Oh,
he seemed very well set at least.
that's true. Yeah, he's
Right.
an amazing guy. Like if you go to new computer science like every night, he's definitely there in the lab like till like 1 a.m. every day.
Okay, I gotcha.
Mhm.
So yeah, we have 9 people and counting. So I guess we can start now.
All right.
Right. So so for everyone watching, hi, my name is Ben Michaelovich. I'm the social media manager for SBU Hacks this year, and with me I have two of the CS department's legendary PhD students. We have Gagan Soma Shekar and Anand Ayer. I pronounced those both right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Phew. So just making sure. So to give a brief blurb, I'll start with Gagan and then end with Anand. So Gagan is a fourth-year PhD student. He's working under the guidance of Professor Ansel Gandhi. He works in performance analysis and modeling of computer systems and uses a mixture of statistical tools and empirical analysis to understand how these systems work, how they behave, and tries to make design changes based on these to essentially improve performance metrics. Is that he's one of the senators within this GSO representing the CS department. and he's a secretary actually of the Chapin Apartment Resident Association. And in his free time, he's actually quite the Renaissance man. It seems he likes cooking, painting, reading nonfiction, and falling for girls who fall for other guys. His words.
He's single, ladies.
Anand is equally as prominent. He is a failed stand-up comedian and a struggling fifth-year PhD candidate in the CS department, currently studying NLP and HCI, human computer interaction, and how to apply it within the realms of accessibility and healthcare. He's also president of the GSO and represents approximately 5,000, or at least 5,000 graduate students enrolled at Stony Brook University. Some of his interests include quizzing or being pedantic about trivia, reading and writing poetry, or being pedantic about words, and eating out, or being pedantic about food. However you wish to choose it. So I have a few template questions, but like we can go off however which way they go. And if anyone has any questions in the YouTube live chat, like go right, like feel free to post something. So I guess the first question, like personally, I'm actually curious. Like I'm always curious with every PhD student or professor that I talk to, like why did you decide to pursue your doctorate instead of say going to industry or staying in industry if you started there?
That's a really good question. So I just to give you a background, I did go into industry after my undergrad for a year, and then I loved it. I was working in business intelligence, working with data warehouses for a banking customer, and it was fun. But it I think you become like really good at it because it's like just like a particular thing that you do, and you want to learn more about how it works behind the scenes. So I went to get like a master's degree, um, and I actually started with a master's degree in theoretical computer science algorithms. We, and I was trying to I let me just say I was so naive. I didn't know machine learning existed, so I went into learning theory by mistake for my master's degree, which was extremely tough. And then I when I so after my masters, I gave a job interview, and they asked me, your project sounds great, but how do I use it? And so basically all the theoretical results I had to like pretend as if there was a real system, which basically did so. My master's thesis was on top K ranking. So how do you in an evolving system? I think something that Gagan would like be very familiar with, random walks. How do you rank consistently rank one among top K elements in a slowly shuffling deck of cards, for example. And then so I had to actually explain that as like a recommender system problem, and then the startup was like, oh, we kind of do brand intelligence, kind of this is pre Cambridge Analytica days. So I was like, oh, this is like the best. Oh, we're scraping user data from Facebook and LinkedIn. Oh, this is so cool. And once I was at the startup, um, I met like really smart guys who were like who had PhDs, and I was like, oh, this is something that I want to do. I want to be as smart as these people. And then and at that time they told me, don't do it. Like, so I feel like every PhD you meet, they tell you like, don't do it. And then when you're a kid like who hasn't done a PhD, you're like, these guys are just like, you know busting my balls or something, and they're like, they're so negative, and why are they so cynical, things like that. But then once you get into the program, you realize, oh, this was such a massive pay cut, and there's so much loneliness and misery here, but so I feel like everyone in the PhD program joined it for the right reasons. They were extremely curious. They wanted to learn, um, and learning requires that kind of isolation and single-minded pursuit of getting specializing on something, on one narrow thing. Sorry, Gagan. I think
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Yeah. I think I had a similar experience. So after my bachelor's, I worked for 2 years in a company called Citrix. It's a computer systems company,
just
and
a company called Citrix. You may never heard of it.
yeah, some of you might have used it. Yeah. So yeah, after a while, you kind of feel that there's not much to learn. That's the stage I reached by the end of 1.5 years. And then I wanted to apply for a master's. So I did apply for a master's. And in that particular year, Sony Brook was expanding their PhD program. So they asked a few of the master applicants if they want to start as a PhD student. So then I thought about it. And anyway, I had plans of doing a PhD eventually. So let me just try it out. And so I'm not a conventional PhD student. It was a lot of randomness involved. But yeah, once I joined, I did start liking it after my second year. I did like my working with my advisor, and I did like the area that I was working on. So now I've decided to continue.
Nice.
Didn't you also intern at that little company called Google?
Oh god. Yeah, I think my friend's sister is working there right now. She's just like a nice small mom and pop company. Yeah. All right. Actually, speaking of questions, this one guy, Rocky Lin, already had a question. If I want to do data science or ML in the future, which one would you say is the best major for the field? CS, stats, or IT?
Hmm.
Personally, coming from I guess to answer for myself, personally coming from Dr. Skina's data science fundamentals course, it definitely seems more of a stats or CS based approach. But like that being said, I took one course. Like I'm sure people with much more experience, Anand, can probably answer that much better. No, don't Rocky, don't be sorry to interrupt at all. Like you made a message, but like
Oh,
what are
sure.
what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Um. Okay. I think so. In back in 2012, I wanted to get into data science and machine learning, and I didn't know any better, and I ended up doing uh, you know algorithms for massive data, so which was basically a lot of math. So I think there is like a there is a like a perfect sweet spot between how deep into the math you want to get, and how good at coding you want to be, because I feel like are you interested in getting into machine learning into the fundamentals, or are you interested in using machine learning to solve real world problems? So that is a question you need to ask yourself. um, I would recommend focusing on CS, uh, and I feel that whatever math you need, um, you can pick up with a CS major, and maybe like a master's degree, and self learning. Um, However, if you are you have a stats background, um, you 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 need to then pick up the programming. So yeah, I personally would just be a CS major and just focus, but you know to be good at data science, because I feel like machine learning is the antithesis of statistics in a way, and while you have to be statistics literate, the whole approach is that we just have a lot of data and we can figure everything else out. I don't know how whether you agree with me or not. I would love to hear your opinion.
He mentioned that they mentioned that they're an AMS major now,
Mhm.
and they're applying for grad school.
Okay, so the best thing about CS grad school is I have a friend who did chemical engineering and then did a master's in computer science and is now at Google. So uh, I think that's the beautiful thing about CS grad school, that you can literally be any major in undergrad and just get into the CS because it's very interdisciplinary right now.
Okay.
So I wouldn't fret about being an AMS major. Like I know linguistics majors who are computer science masters students.
Ac- Actually, come from the from the converse side. Like I know, like I originally joined Dr. Chapman's group. And I've been getting emails from the IX,
Mhm.
from the
Yeah.
IX like mailing list. And there's one person who went from computer science, mathematics to linguistics. Like the other, like it's interesting to see the other way around.
Oh yeah.
We have a 3-part question from Ibrahim from from Ariz's lab,
All right.
and I'm not sure for his case.
He's
His thing
trolling.
was, yeah, why PhD, why AI, why ML?
What a troll. So for everybody else who doesn't know, Umit is like the god of computer science. He is, according to me, the most complete old school computer science person I know in the program. And I I completely owe my A grade in compilers to him, which I feel is ridiculous. If anyone like if Professor Sekar hears that I got an A in compilers, he's going.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I owe it entirely to Umit and Ibrahim, and I think Ibrahim is feeling a bit left out that operating systems is not as cool as AI. Um, I think systems for machine learning is definitely the future.
I see. Yeah. Gagan, like if anything, do you have anything to add, like from into like machine learning AI perspective?
Yeah, I think what Anand was saying, to summarize what Anand was saying, was if you're a stats major and if you plan to do a PhD later on, then you will pick up CS skills later. And if you're a CS major, then you will need to pick up some of the statistics, which you will pick up during your grad school. So you will have to do both. And if coming to statistics, I think some of the courses that I would probably take if I was in undergrad now is linear algebra and probability and statistics. I think these are the two major courses which I would concentrate. Other than that, I think it's mostly CS. And again, like Anand said, it depends on whether you're doing applied ML or theoretical ML. It depends on where you fall in this spectrum. If you're doing completely applied data science, then it doesn't matter. Just a basic understanding of how the algorithms work is probably important. But if you're doing theoretical ML, then yeah, it's very important that you know statistics more than CS.
Okay.
And linear algebra. I feel like
Linear
linear algebra is
yeah.
uh,
I'm taking a course in quantum computing right now, and it just the like this CSE 550, and it just making me remember I should have paid more attention to linear algebra as an
Yeah,
undergrad.
definitely, yeah.
Like, but thankfully it makes some sort of sense. At the same time, one of the staff members of Dr. Chapman's labs said, if you're understanding it, you're probably doing it wrong. So,
is that Tony?
like,
Did Tony say that? Because that
yeah,
sounds like such a Tony comment.
it,
Tony
it,
Curtis
it,
is a
it
wit.
was
He's a legendary wit. Yeah.
it was Tony. Like, he's helping me and an AMS master student work on prep on getting ready to start running like benchmarks on the new computing cluster coming in.
Oh wow, nice. Okay.
So I mentioned quantum computing at one point. I'm like, it's not too bad. I think I'm understanding after reviewing things. And he just says, like, he says with like so formally, if you think understanding it, you might wanna check again.
Oh.
And I sat there like, oh heck. Yeah, and then Omi eventually he put another thing. OS is greater than AI plus ML.
Yes.
Person, like I have massive respect for anyone who does computer systems like that. It's just or anything where there's just a massive amount of math. It's just insane.
Hmm.
I don't know how y'all do it.
Especially people who do OS and also write papers in AI,
Heck.
like somebody YouTube bombing us.
Oh God. Yeah. Actually, one thing I'm curious about is how did you both arrive at Stony Brook? I know, I know some people choose it just because some people chose it as undergrad, for example, for because they're in state and it being a state school. But I'm not sure and I know I chose it for grad school because I enjoyed this department. I enjoyed the environment. As even now with COVID, it's not like the people the community is still pretty strong even in isolation. Like, how did you both just choose to ride a Stony Brook like way back when? Rather like
Back in my time. Well, I chose it completely by accident, believe it or not. I was working at that startup and I broke my leg. So I was at home, um, completely like with like a broken knee. And then my dad asked me, like, what are you doing with your life? Kind of, as dads do. And so I had a GRE score because I actually helped my friend Anant prepare for the GRE a year before, and I was using verbal tutor, and I was the butt of all jokes because I basically didn't get a perfect GRE math score, which was like, and I got more in verbal than I got in quant. So yeah, I was the butt of all my friends jokes. And so and then I got placed, so I never thought about grad school because I was making money. And so there I was at home, you know um, with a broken leg, and my dad told me, like, think about that PhD. And I went to the USA Today rankings, and I decided not to be ambitious, so I started at rank 40. And Stony Brook was the first university I went to the website, and they said, if you're interested in applying for fall 2016, apply now, because apparently somebody had cancelled and they had a few seats open. And so I applied and I got in like within 1 week. And I think Kathy Germana and CR and were amazing, because Kathy actually wrote back to me, told me that, we haven't received your recommendation letter, asked the person to send in. And then, the professor was actually in Boston at the time. So I had entered his email address wrong. Like, instead of at the rate yahoo.com, which was what the professor was using, I said at the rate gmail.com, because I, never expected somebody to have a yahoo.com address back, now. And he still did. So uh, and then so he told me, just get the fax number, I'll fax in my recommendation. And then he faxed it in, and I got lucky, and it just happened. So which also explains why I bombed my first semester so badly, because I wasn't in the right frame of mind for PhD.
I see. Interestingly enough, fall 2016 was my freshman semester. I feel
Oh,
old.
nice.
I feel old now.
Yeah. Was I your TA for 214?
No, I never took AP credit. I thought I actually have very little CS. I actually had very little CS experience coming into college. I took a few courses with introductory programming, like a course on drag and drop block coding with Lego robotics, and that was it. Like it wasn't. It was very it was very minimal, and I taught
But
myself Java over the
really
summer.
cool. I really like that. I feel that that's a great introduction to get into like CS programming, uh, Lego robotics.
Yeah, looking back on it, it was definitely fun. I just remember like everything moving forward. It was like very for someone of my skill level, meaning like the floor. Uh, just it was intense. Like going from like just drag and drop, going from drag and drop and like minimal like Visual Basic to intense like couple hundred line Java code files. Actually, of curiosity, so Gagan, what about, like you said, you went from masters and then applied into the PhD program. How do you pick Stony Brook?
Yeah. So when I applied, even now the computer systems department is good, but when I applied the computer science, the computer systems department at Stony Brook was really good. A few of the professors left that year and the following year, but before that it was really good. And so choosing Stony Brook was more of a PhD versus master's decision for me. I had a master's admit from TAMU, so I was inclined towards going to TAMU, and then since I got a PhD admit at Stony Brook, I chose Stony Brook. Yeah, but yeah, the reason I applied to Stony Brook is because of the strong systems department that we have.
Okay. Like that, like definitely after hearing all the accolades, like I remember talking to Dr. Fodor way back when. I was like, hey, I want to do computer architecture, and he just said Mike Ferdman, just go right to him. And yeah, and that's where I am now. We have one question from Grace Sue in the chat saying, what advice do you have for people wanting to apply to grad school? Which
Do your homework. Do your homework well. There are so many small things that you never think about. So I think I would recommend visiting each grad school or in person, getting a feel for grad school. Like me, in my case, for example, in India, back in India, only time I'd heard of Long Island was watching The Godfather, which is like a favorite movie of mine. So I literally in my mental map, Long Island is like this tiny, like is basically Brooklyn. So I thought Stony Brook is in Brooklyn, and every weekend I'll be in the city, and so I was so excited to you know be close to Brooklyn, and like I imagined I'd go to like I'd explore the city like every weekend and stuff like that. And it was only after you get here that you realize how different like the whole thing is, and then you get um, and also one thing that they never tell you about is even though you get a tuition waiver, there are fees to be paid, and there are rent rent costs quite a bit. So and you'll be basically taking like a pay cut, like $150,000 pay cut for 6 years. So you really need to think about it. And these are not things that you realize at the start of the program. You kind of realize it midway through. Um, and as far as just the application goes, I think uh, recommendation letters play a big role in getting you in compared to anything else. Your GRE score doesn't matter. You know, so your research paper and your GPA matters only to the extent that they give you good recommendation letters. You have to convince the committee that this is a person who can do research. If we fund this person, that this person can reliably do research. So think of it that way. And big brand names don't matter as much as the person you're actually going to do research with.
Yeah.
So you can do great research with somebody at a no name school, and I think that is very important. So who you do research with is I think the most critical choice you can make in grad school. So I would recommend, even before you apply to grad school, to just write to somebody and say, hey, can I just do research with you for free for maybe like a couple of months, and decide whether you liked it, and then take it further.
Yeah, I think research experience before applying is important, and maybe even industry experience. I don't know. I think some people feel it's better to directly go to a PhD, but I feel work experience helps. It helps you realize whether you actually like doing research or not, and whether you really like the area that you're interested in. And research experience again, it can help you. It's a good thing on the resume, and also you will get to know how exactly research is done. For example, I did not have research experience when I came here, so it took me almost a year to actually start doing research. So I think getting some research experience before you start PhD or before you apply for PhD is very important.
Okay. Actually, speaking of that, I remember spring 2018. I remember actually sitting on an SBCS panel with Anand,
Oh,
and it was just like, and one student kept asking like, for even for undergrads, how'd you get into research? And I remember saying, I cold emailed my professor. Dr. Ferdman never heard of me. I didn't hear of him until like I didn't hear of him until January, like freshman year, and even then it was just straight up like, okay, like, why do you want to do this? Okay, let's chat. And like, firstly, I was surprised he gave me the chance, and even before I knew anything systems wise, and I was still surprised he did afterwards. Like, but I guess if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have figured out like, okay, this is something I want to do as well.
no, I feel this is something I was very guilty about. So back when I was an undergrad, I used to like worship these people. I've read their papers, and so when you actually meet them, like Turing, like one thing, like one group of people I'm obsessed with. In an unhealthy way is Turing Award winner. So anytime I hear that a Turing Award winner is going to give a talk, I'm like a mad fanboy. So I'll actually go and like like sit in the first row, and I'll be like, ooh, and I'll be like, oh my god, you are this person, and 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 they're just human, and they're like professors at that. So they find it really amusing, and uh, I've had great chats with like some really amazing Turing Award winners, and they basically tell me that there is so many research questions to be solved, and they just need people. So this feeling of like if you've ever watched Wayne's World, like you see your idols and you're like, I am not worthy, I am not worthy, but you are worthy, and what they need is somebody to do the work for them reliably. And so a lot of the times what happens is um, you say yes to doing something, and so you go to the lab, and they give you like some work to do, and you just get overwhelmed with the work. And so in the PhD, it's very important to communicate that, hey, this is what I don't understand, and this is what I think I have to do. Is this correct? Because if the person supervising you, if you're clear at what you're supposed to deliver, because sometimes when you're supervising students, it may actually be more time efficient for the person to just do the work themselves, and they give you a lot of grunt work, initially, and then you learn by doing that. So you have to be able to communicate really well, and I think I'm not really good at it yet. I'm still working on it, but I think that is something that each person has to commit to.
Gagan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out was I think reaching out to professors is something I was
Yeah.
hesitant about initially, especially coming from Eastern cultures. It's very difficult for you to talk to professors. So that's one thing I wouldn't do now. Like Anand said, they're just humans. I would just probably reach out to them, talk to a lot of professors before starting PhD. So these are the things that I would do now, which I do not do. Yeah.
Okay. It kind of reminds me working with or like reaching out to Dr. Chapman back in March. I was like, hey, I like one of these projects. Could we chat? And she said, sure. The short version is sure. Let's chat.
Yeah.
So like in the
Yeah.
same
So
way,
please don't hesitate. Like if if you have like a, I don't know, a textbook you read and you love, and you want to just reach out to the author, please just send them an email. And uh, the only reason they probably don't reply is because they probably get like hundreds of emails. But if you're ever able to like just attend a talk that they're giving or something, if it's like a scientific question, or if you read a paper and you have something that is more than, hey, can I get a PhD admission, I think most professors are very happy to talk to you about. If they don't have to fund you, I think they're always happy to talk to you about research, because these are people who are extremely passionate about what they do. They and like my professor, he's so passionate about what he does. Like, you know, I feel super ashamed that, you know, like, this is a person who on Saturday morning he wakes up and he's just thinking about my research problem, you know. So I think yeah, so just be extremely curious. Be clear that, you know, you want to do a PhD for the right reasons. Because if it's to earn more money, I don't think I think it's better to just get a job and work, because you know, I don't know, the 5 or 6 years that you work in the industry, I think uh, you learn a lot more, and you'll also learn a lot more practical skills. So do the PhD for the right reasons. And I think Priscilla asked on the group, you know, how intense is it? It depends entirely on you and your professor, because I know people who, you know, just are like very consistent 9 to 5. They keep 9 to 5 hours in the office, and Saturday, Sunday they take off to, you know, work on personal projects. And it doesn't seem intense, but it is 9 to 5. They're like really there. And then people, you know, that, you know, who are working like 24 hours at a time in the lab. They sleep in the lab and stuff like that. Um, it's completely up to you and your professor. And then there are also some professors who are extremely like involved, so they kind of jam with you in a way. I've worked with professors who write code on the board, and you're sitting next to them, and, you know, you may not understand everything that they're writing, but then you help by, you know, checking the math, and, you know, giving some suggestions, and that works. And, you know, I've literally like written a theorem, like sitting at an Indian restaurant eating, you know, like bhindi masala and chapati, and then we're doing math on the paper, on the tablecloth. So that is one way. And then I've also done research where the professor basically gives you an idea, and then you execute the whole thing on your own. And, you know, you can get lost or get off the deep end, and then you have to come back and discuss. And so
Okay, I see. One person, Rocky again, asked this question: when do you ask professor to write a rec letter for you, before or after taking the course? On a personal level, I'll definitely say after, just because unless the professor knows you already, it's gonna be kind of hard to write something other than like just based off, say, a resume or CV being sent to them. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I think it's even if I don't know if just a course is also
yeah,
enough. I think it's important that you work on a project with that particular professor and then ask him for a recommendation. Even
yeah,
if, say, a professor writes a recommendation based on how you performed in a course, I wouldn't say it would be a strong letter. I think it's important that the professor can comment on your research skills. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think I don't think you shouldn't definitely ask them for a recommendation before taking the course, and I don't think just taking a course is sufficient.
yeah.
Interesting.
I,
Okay.
I, I, I I agree with what Gagan said. I feel even if you don't take a course with a professor, but
Yeah,
if you spend time doing research with them, I
yeah,
think that counts for a lot more.
correct.
And yeah,
Okay. Actually, one question I have. I remember I asked Dr. Ferdman, like, when I was still doing stuff, when I was still doing things under him, if he could sign a letter of recommendation for me, and I think it was something to the point. I think it was like, I think at that point he was like, I can't, because like you've only done X, Y, and Z. Like, you like in being undergrad, being undergrad with your schedule, you may not have had the opportunity to do so much in the lab compared to a master's or PhD student.
Mhm.
Like, has that ever happened to you even at a PhD level, like where your advisor or a teacher with whom you've worked with wasn't able to do something? Is that in that regard?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It happens. No, I mean, you get lucky in the sense that when you're a PhD student and you have an advisor, uh, then that person is basically like your colleague in a sense. So they will champion you, and if they're not championing you, I mean, you know that uh, the the writing is on the wall. You're on your way out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that happens a lot. So you can work with somebody and 2-3 months down the line you can decide that, you know, hey, this isn't working out,
Yeah.
and then you can change your advisor, and that is very common. It isn't like a mark of shame. It just happens.
Yeah, one misconception I had when I applied was you choose your advisor and then you never get to change your advisor. That's not the case. You basically, everybody takes the first year to figure out who would be a good advisor for them, and you can always change. People change their advisors in their second year. It's possible. Yeah. And yeah, and going back to the PhD experience, of how intense it is, I think it completely depends on your advisor. 70 to 80% of your PhD experience depends on your advisor. So that's why I think it's a very important decision to make. Rather than choosing university, I think you should choose your advisor.
Yeah.
Okay, very well said.
Yeah.
Actually, so Rocky's follow-up question was, so what I should do is to ask before, but engaging whenever the professor is doing or teaching.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, you should make your intentions very clear.
Correct.
You should, as soon as you, I mean, if you want like a recommendation letter from somebody, you should go and tell them, hi, my name is so and so, this is my resume, and I want to apply to grad school, and ideally you're doing this in junior year, and then they basically tell you that, you know, hey, if you want a good, if you want a strong recommendation letter from me, okay, so you have to ask them, hey, I want a strong recommendation letter from you. So the strong recommendation letter counts for something. There is also the generic, he got an A grade,
Yeah.
A in my class, or you know, he's a 4 pointer or whatever. So those don't really count for much. But you know, this person wrote a research paper with me, that count. And many cases in the undergrad level, it's impossible to like get a paper published unless you're part of like this giant team and you're like the fifth author or something. So this person did an independent research project with me, counts for a lot. So I think in junior year, I would recommend like doing like one or two of those kind of independent projects, either over the summer or you know, during the semester. And you need 3 recommendation letters for PhDs. Yeah.
Gagan, do you have anything to add on to that, or from your perspective as well?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, like, just to add a few more points, what I would do now is I would get, work with a few professors during my undergrad, then take up a job, compare those two, and then make a decision. So, I think it's very important that you get some research exposure during your undergrad. Or if you're planning to do a master's, then it's okay. But if you're planning to apply for PhD directly, then I think it's important that you get some research exposure.
Okay. This thing was, what if I'm already a senior? If it was the only reason that I decided I went to go to grad school. Personally, at that point, like maybe if you have an idea of going to grad school, from my perspective, I would say figure out, or like if you enjoy particular professor's work, like better to email them now than later or never, definitely. And then moving forward from that, like if you're still if you're like, regardless of what happens, like make the best of it. If you can't, if that professor says no, like there's always at least 1 or 2 people in any department like working on a similar topic to what you want.
Yeah.
I get actually kind of gets into the next question, like the last question, just looking at time. Like, how would you motivate how would you motivate yourself if you reach a dead end? Like I know it's happened to me. I know it's happened to I know it's happened to my meant like fellow like other PhD students in Dr. Ferdman's lab, for example. Like how do y'all get around that?
I cry in the bathroom.
Oh no.
No, just kidding. Yeah, I think it's very hard to be motivated all the time. What one thing you realize is you cannot be motivated all the time. It's
Yeah.
okay if you don't want to work, because it's a 5 year or 6 year program. So if you're not productive for a week or two, it's fine. You just know that you will again go back to that phase. So it's never a constant, continuously productive journey. You'll it's a you'll keep going through phases where you're not so productive. So it's kind of okay. Um, Other than that, I think, yeah, that's the thing. I am lucky that I have a really good advisor. So he talks to me frequently. He asks me how I'm doing, and if he feels that I'm not being productive, he tries to find out what could be the problem. He tries his best to resolve it. So these are the things that have helped me. And I have a really good set of friends, Anand, and a lot of other people. That also helps. Social interactions do help. They kind of get you back to you feel relaxed, and then it's easier to go back to doing a lot of work. Yeah, yeah, you can.
Uh, as someone who is never productive, I don't know what I can say. All I can say is
Never
what
productive.
I do is
Oh, yeah, yeah.
what I do. I try to fool myself. So you just have 20 different things that you're working on, and you know that you will be productive eventually. So you have to keep, um, if you're not working on one thing, you should work on something else. And because it's boring, right? So like for example, I mean, like a funny thing is that a couple of years ago, I really got into online chess. And so I was telling my dad that at the end of the day, after I come home from lab, I play chess to relax, which is really stupid here, because chess is requires a lot of focus, right? So I find that if you're doing one particular kind of thing, and then you just do something else. I don't recommend playing online chess because it takes 20 minutes of your day, like a single blitz game. So uh, if I've played like a thousand games already or something like that, and I feel like all that time would have been better. I don't know, spent watching Coursera videos or reading research papers. So I feel if you're stuck doing one activity that is intellectually straining, just replace it with something else that is like if reading papers is boring at that time, code, or do something else. And then that will get boring, and then you will get back to this, and hopefully this will be interesting. So um, yeah, so what is being productive? I think that is something that we should re-examine.
Okay, I see. I'm personally like this past week I haven't had as much to do as I usually do. So I've kind of just been in that rut. So but like helping run SBU hacks and then working
Yeah.
on stuff at the same time. Like it's kind of the same thing, like like actively scheduling.
Mhm.
Um,
I feel
but
being part of like communities and organizing things is great, because you really get socially isolated in the PhD program. You're working on one particular thing that nobody else in the world knows anything about. Even your own advisor doesn't know, the specific thing that you're working on. He relies on you, he or she, they rely on you to be the expert. So it is extremely so you can talk about your problems or what you're and I feel like people in different areas of computer science, they should talk to each other. um, I feel PhD students should talk to undergrads, and because there is, you learn so much. And I recommend, I don't recommend being a TA, but every time I have been forced to be a TA, I find it's fascinating, because um, I've even tutored people like who don't know how to program in Python, and I pick up so many of my ideas like completely like change. So I recommend being extremely social. It's counterintuitive. A lot of PhD students in computer science don't like being social, but I find that it is extreme. I mean, but be social in whatever way. Like be social on Discord, be social on Reddit. Like I some of the best friends I've made on Reddit in the past few. Like some amazing trolls I've met on Reddit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I can relate to that personally, like meeting friends in strange places in general. I guess sorry, we can prepare for the next event. Like I guess we can call a wrap on that. Priscilla had one last question of if she or if anyone has any questions after this talk is over, what's the best way to reach both of you? Like
My email ID would be okay.
Please bring cookies and ice cream. We shall answer all questions, Priscilla.
I don't mind sharing my email ID. Yeah. You.
Yeah. Please feel free to email.
Yeah.
let's see. For Gan, it's gsomashakar
At cs.stonybrook.com.
.com. Anand is just AIR.
Yeah, AAIYER.
At CS.
Yeah, or first name or last name at stonybrook.edu. And this year, president at sbgso.org. And if you're ever at Chapin, please come visit us. Gagan is like an amazing chef. So, if you like dosas, I think he's the best.
Don't get me hungry. Don't get me hungry. Make me hungry and like start walking over there now. I just might do it.
Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you. So yes, again, seriously, thank you both so much for taking time out of your days. I'm sure both of you are busy up to here at least.
No. So I feel like I don't think we should be proud about that. I think if you're busy and it's 10 in the night, I think we're not being smart about it. So yeah,
Okay.
but thank you for having us on. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and then for no problem, of course. And then for everyone else who's still listening, we have an event coming up immediately after this, so stay tuned for that, definitely. And give a big virtual round of applause to Gagan and Anand. So
good luck with the hackathon, guys. Thank you for having us on.
See you.
See you both. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.